Readings from a mysterious and spooky tarot card deck turn deadly in the new horror film Tarot. Let's talk about it. Hey guys, Dan here. This is Dan Reviews It. Welcome to my movie review for the new film Tarot. You can see this in theaters right now. And before we launch into the specifics of the film and my thoughts on it, let me welcome you into Dan Reviews It. Thank you for finding this video. We do movie and TV reviews here on the channel, and just about every day something new goes up. So there's always a lot going on. With that in mind, please consider subscribing, hit that like button, comment below. All that stuff, of course, helps the channel out. And check out my Letterboxd as well. I have that in the description in addition to my Facebook page for the channel and my X, formerly Twitter. I don't really use that much anymore, but in any event, you can check out my Letterboxd. It's a really cool website to sort of make lists and rate movies that you've seen and keep a diary of what movies you're currently watching and all that sort of stuff. So you can follow me there with that in the description. All right, so let's talk about Tarot. This is kind of the first weekend of summer blockbuster season. Of course, The Fall Guy also came out this weekend, and that's going to be a big runaway hit. But usually every summer there's a few horror movies in the mix as well. Of course, the big horror time is Halloween, and also the beginning of the year has sort of become a big sort of dumping ground for horror movies. Most of them are not particularly good in the beginning of the year, but this one could be right alongside them because this is a stinker. Let's talk about why. So, first of all, this is based on a 1992 book, which I had not heard of, called Horrorscope. I do like that name. But I was kind of surprised when the end credits came up that this was based on a book. And essentially a group of friends played by some people that you may recognize, from one thing or another. They rent out a mansion in the Catskills for one of the people's birthdays, this gal named Elise. And a bunch of stuff happens and there's some tension in the group, so they sort of go exploring in the mansion, and they find a bunch of like really sort of weird stuff, and one of them is this classic tarot card deck with what looks like handmade painted cards, and so they decide for a laugh, hey, let's do tarot readings. And so the one gal who's kind of adept at tarot cards decides to get everybody together and do that. Haley is the name of the girl who does the readings, and that is Harriet Slater, who you might know from Pennyworth, which was a DC Universe show, or Belgravia, the next chapter. She's done like random things. I didn't really recognize her, but the person you will probably most recognize is Jacob Batalon, who plays Spider-Man's buddy Ned in the Tom Holland Spider-Man series, but also Avantika is here as well as Paige, and she was in the Mean Girls musical adaptation, so you may have seen her. But anyway, these are all, kind of just up-and-coming actors and actresses. Nobody of major note here, but in a movie like this, it doesn't really matter. Kids, are coming to it for the scares, and with kids in mind, this is part of the reason the movie is a miss, is that it is PG-13. And personally, I don't care really if, your horror movie is PG-13, or even, PG movies can be scary, Coraline or The House with the Clock in its Walls. But, PG-13, it's fine. But when your main sort of theme of the movie is these gruesome deaths that are coming from tarot readings, there's no gore here in this movie. I would have liked to have actually maybe seen some of the people dying, especially because I didn't really care about any of the characters. So it was, made no never mind to me. I mean, the only character I really cared about was Jacob Batalon's character, because we know him as Ned from Spider-Man, and anything happens to him and it's, a real bummer. But none of these characters really stand out necessarily. But look, this movie has a lot of problems, more than just the gore factor just isn't there. So first of all, well, second or third of all, I guess at this point, but this was written and directed by a team of Spencer Cohen and Anna Hallberg. This is their feature film directorial debut. Was unfamiliar completely with these people, but I looked up. Anna Hallberg doesn't really have much going on, but this Spencer Cohen, well, he wrote or co-wrote the worst movie of 2022. I just recently did my best and worst of 2022. Moonfall was the worst movie for me of the year, worse than Morbius even. It was a piece of crap, and part of it was it didn't make any sense. It was a sci-fi movie about how the moon is basically going to crash into the earth. It made no sense. And some of the things that were wrong with Moonfall can be applied to this movie as well. I get what they were going for a little bit, but a lot of the rules of the tarot cards and the rules of the spirits and the ghouls that are coming for them just didn't make any sense. And then we do about halfway through get some kind of an explanation, if I can say the word, for what is actually happening and how they've conjured these spirits. And it left me very unsatisfied. I don't think it really connected the dots the way it needed to. So that's an issue. The acting from the kids is fine. Or less than fine. Nobody is above average for sure. But again, with a movie like this, I don't think we're expecting, the Meryl Streeps and the Denzel Washingtons of the world, to be in this. So, all right, we can even give it maybe a pass for that. But the constant reliance on jump scares, the constant reliance of not being able to see what is happening. That's, a big complaint I have, especially about horror movies, but about, movies in general lately. A lot of them are just a lot darker than they needed to be. And yes, almost every scene of this movie is in a darkened room or the forest or a roadside or whatever. And, I couldn't not make out what was happening, but I also didn't care because the movie was so terrible. So it's not like I was like struggling to say, oh, what's going to happen with this character. No, I mean, what I will give the movie is this. I think the designs for the creatures was cool. There were a few different creatures that the gang comes across. They were well designed, I suppose. And I do like that whenever somebody was about to die or maybe looked like they were going to die or was in peril or whatever, they did give us a sort of audio flashback of what the tarot reading was. Because at the beginning of the movie, she just reads everybody's tarot right away and their fortune and stuff. And I was just like, I'm not going to remember how these people are supposed to die or what's going to happen. Which brings me to a whole nother problem of the movie is they basically telegraph everything that's going to happen. I mean, yeah, it may not be in the exact way that you're thinking, but at the beginning of the movie, they just spell out, okay, this person's going to face this person's going to die this way, et cetera, down the line. So there wasn't a lot of tension here with this movie. So look, overall, I actually was going to give this a D, but the more I'm talking about it, other than the character design of some of the ghouls, being pretty interesting, this movie doesn't have any other really redeeming qualities. So sometimes that happens. I kind of talk myself up or down on a grade as I'm sort of getting it all out on the video here. So you know what? I'm just gonna leave Tarot with an F. It's definitely one of the worst movies of the year. I think the only other F I gave this year was also a horror film. It was an early in the year horror movie, or maybe it wasn't even that early, but it was. What is it called? Imaginary. Came out maybe 2 months ago or something. But I think that's the only other F I've given so far in 2024, which actually is not bad. But yeah, this one, huge stinker. Definitely avoid the tarot. All right. Thank you for watching Dan Reviews It. We'll see you next time.